Hugh, is this as good a test as you're going to get starting off the conference?
Yeah, I think so. There are a lot of good teams in the conference again this year, but Penn State's certainly up there. So, yeah, it'll get real in a hurry.
How do you think your team bounced back from that West Coast trip and just what they learned?
Yeah, I mean, there was some really significant growth that occurred. One, after the Oregon match, I just thought the way we go about preparing to compete and instead of waiting to see what the temperature in the room is before we decide how we're going to go about doing our job, I think just the idea that we're going to hit the ground running, and that certainly was apparent the next time we stepped on the floor against Stanford. Stanford, the lessons were a little bit different. It was more about reinforcing something that we talk about all the time, that the margins between winning and losing are really, really thin, and play here makes all the difference. So just making sure that everyone's attending to the things in practice that they need to get the most out of every second we're in the gym.
What kind of shape is the pavilion in? You anticipate all those problems are behind you?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a one-off deal, I think, but certainly a little cooler today, and I think we'll be just fine. Yeah.
What sort of things did you learn from your team when you guys went out to California?
Well, just as we discussed, the volleyball stuff, but also I think the team showed a little bit of resilience. It's not fun losing. It's an occupational hazard. We get that, but no one enjoys it. But how you respond to it matters. So I thought that the response was appropriate. We had a good week in the gym last week, and certainly we're excited to get started this week.
Were you able to get their attention more? I mean, we started the season talking about the Final Four at Target Center, Center to the #1 ranking, and kind of the response to that, to kind of have some humbling moments along the way.
Yeah, I don't think that the team was particularly ego-driven. I think the preseason is what it is relative to the rankings. Maybe aren't truly reflective of how the nation looks, and certainly the discussions about Final Four have been more driven by the outside than they have by the inside relative to the fact that we're hosting. So I never at any time thought that this team was getting too big for its boots. It just is a part of the journey. We're just learning along the way, and I do think, though, that we learned that we've got at least the pieces. Can we put it all together? Time will tell.
Regan, what's it like to play in this conference? I mean, you have 5 teams, I think, this week are top 10. Is it just one of those deals where you have to be at your best pretty much every time you go out there?
That's one of the goals, is to be your best whenever you go out and compete, because it's competition, but definitely having to work really hard in practice just to keep getting better. And as Hugh said, those inches define winning and losing. So really working on getting those few inches of your game that really take you to the next level.
Yeah, the conference is awesome in every sense of the word, right? I mean, it's unbelievable that you would have that kind of parity in one conference, that higher rankings across that number of teams. It makes it a pretty amazing thing to be a part of.
All the teams you're recruiting the same?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know about the same kids, but, I mean, yeah.
All recruiting at that top level when you're out recruiting.
Yeah. Turns out the better you recruit, your coaching gets a lot better. So I don't know if there's a correlation there or not, but it's one of the things I've noticed.
Has the league become tougher since you've gotten here?
I think the overall parity in women's volleyball has definitely increased. I think the top level continues to get better, but the number of quality athletes is increasing every year. So what you'll find is, speaking to recruiting, there's certainly a few players that everyone understands are going to project out, but there's certainly a high number of players that are athletically gifted and talented that can get it done. So, I think when you recruit, you want some assurances in terms of how that athlete's going to play at this level, and there certainly are people that have shown that degree of athletic and talent and ability, let's call it that, and skill. But there are also a number of significantly talented athletes that are physically very gifted that end up being extremely skilled and extremely effective in this league. So the overall parity is the other thing that you don't get. I mean, we talk about the whatever 5 teams in the top 10 or whatever it is this week, but then you've got the other 10 teams or 9 teams or whatever that can all play, and that all have athletes that are capable of getting after it on any given night. So that adds a whole different dimension to it. Yeah.
What's the challenge in particular with Penn State?
Very physical, and they're skilled. You know, their bigs are big and their littles are skilled, and so I don't know if it's you know, a complicated system that they run, but it's definitely one of those cases where they're really good at what they do, and you know, it'll be interesting to see if we can stop them.
What are you looking forward to seeing the most just entering Big Ten play this year?
Hopefully some good volleyball. You know, I mean, this team's capable of performing at a good level, and hopefully what we do in practice transfers to how we go about doing it on match day. But I think the team's excited to play, and yeah, we're keen to see how it goes.
Regan, is the team looking at this 3-game home stretch is pretty important to Big Ten competition?
I mean, every game is important to Big Ten competition, but we have those first 10 games here, or first 7 out of 10 games that are home, which is really nice to have, because having home court advantage is always something nice to have, because that's what we're used to playing in.
Yeah, I think there's certainly expectations relative to wanting to look beyond the next one. You know, I mean, I get it. We got Penn State and Maryland and Wisconsin, then we're on the road to Indiana, and you know, I mean, the hits keep on coming. But I think to your point earlier, you know, the caliber of teams that are in the league, you can't worry about anyone than the one that's right there. And yeah, it's nice to start at home, as Regan said. That's great, but we can't get ahead of ourselves. We're just not afforded that luxury.
Anything else for Coach or Regan?
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.